afternoon, evening. Welcome to From the Halls of Justice. This evening, because it's evening where we are, this evening we have some very special guests I'm honored to have in the studio with me. We have the Honorable Judge Craig J. Mitchell, and we lovingly refer to him as the running judge. I initially first saw him on Channel 5 running, and he was with his men from the Midnight Mission, and he looked like a better version of Rocky. And I was just so floored to hear that he was a Superior Court judge. Also in the studio with us, we have Gabby Hayes, and you can't see him behind the camera. We also have her husband, Mark, and I am so honored to have her here. The Honorable Judge Mitchell insisted when I invited him on the program that Gabby had to be here. And we also have with us this evening Leon from the Midnight Mission and Oscar. So this is going to be like an awesome program. I'm so honored to have these gentlemen here and this beautiful lady. Judge Mitchell, I'm okay. I'm a little speechless, but Judge Mitchell, why is running so important to those in recovery?
The Midnight Mission is not only a running program, but we have a goal. And that goal is to run an international marathon at least once a year. And anyone who is trained for a marathon understands that it is not something that you just do on a whim. It is not something that you say, okay, well, in 3 weeks I'm going to run the marathon. And my understanding of recovery, it requires an equal, if not greater, level of commitment and discipline. And that's why the recovery program and training for a marathon mutually support one another in such a meaningful way.
Well, that's also why when I spoke to you over the phone, I had to emphasize the fact that while I admired the fact that I saw you on television running and I knew you were running for a marathon, I myself had to focus on, I needed you in the studio because I wouldn't be able to keep up with you running down the street and these men. So I appreciate you being here in the studio, sitting here with us.
Can I add something as well?
Yes.
You know, my perception, oftentimes, people in recovery at the Midnight Mission, because of choices that they've made, circumstances that they find themselves in, many of them are at the Midnight Mission largely alone. And being in the running club creates a group of people who genuinely care about each other. And there is a friendship and a bond that I think the participants in our running program enjoy that is just as essential as the discipline and the commitment that is necessary. And I'm sorry to have to add that, but I think it's equally important.
I like that. Why do you take runners to run overseas?
I personally love to travel. I think it enriches my life. I think it informs me in just so many different ways. And the men and women at the Midnight Mission, I want them to have that same life experience. I want them as well to understand that there are people who underwrite the costs of sending 25, 30 people overseas, who believe in the people who are in recovery enough, not just to pat them on the back, not to make simply a token donation, but to say, we want you to have a life experience that you will return to over and over again. And that's why we go overseas to run.
And this is awesome. Do you have to be in recovery to participate in the running program?
You do not. And as the program has evolved over now going into the 5th year, I've had an opportunity to speak at certain local community colleges, Trade Tech, to name one in particular, and people hear about the running program and want to participate. We also have a whole host of professional men and women. Some of the attorneys that I work with in my court have heard about the program, largely defense counsel, who have a commitment to serve those who are trying to put their lives back together. And they come and do the same type of mentoring that I try and do.
That's wonderful. Why are the non-midnight mission runners so vital to your program?
On any given day, if we have 15 runners go out in the morning, if anyone who runs, everybody has their own pace. Mm-hmm. And so, and many of the people who are in recovery, they have questions. For me, oftentimes they're legal questions or what they're struggling with. They may be deciding whether they're going to leave the mission. Sometimes they will reveal to me that they came very close to relapse, what have you. But these are conversations that are one-on-one conversations, okay, that you would be disinclined to share that with a larger group. And so by having other people out there running, that means on one day, Oscar Knight can talk to Billy about what's going on in his life and bounce some ideas off of him. Leon, if he and I are running at the same pace that day, then Leon can share some of what's going on in his life. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so vital.
Now, how did the filming of a documentary come about?
We had the great good fortune of having Mark and Gabby see an article in the Los Angeles Times. And they reached out to us, contacted us, and suggested that they would like to do a documentary of the program. And it has been such a core component of what is happening in the running program. Because once again, it is incredibly affirming. If you have people who are very successful in their professional lives, just as Mark and Gabby are,
right,
and the guys from the mission who are in recovery see that these people, not only themselves, but they hire a crew, they have spent countless hours filming, mm-hmm, they have sponsored people to go overseas, that is making a statement to the runners, right, okay, that what you are doing in your life is not only important on an individual level, but other people need to know about it,
right,
okay, and it is just great good fortune that they responded in the way that they have.
I was going to say that sort of flows over into the next question, which is how do the runners feel about the documentary?
I will let the runners answer that question.
Okay, Leon.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for exposure for the running club and the altruistic movement of the running club. It's just good people helping other people, and it's all about welcome. Let's run together, let's get to know each other, and there's this camaraderie, not just with the runners in the mission, but all the runners and everybody associated with the runners. From the jump, it was, you want to run? Welcome.
All right.
And for Judge Mitchell to have done this, it's just, who's ever heard of something like this?
Never.
Yeah, many of us have murky past, so to speak, and for the judicial system, so to speak, to invite us to run with them and teach us and mentor us and coach us and befriend us, who would have thought? And I'm very grateful for it.
And I remember one time Leon and I were riding a bus back from an art exhibit, and Leon asked me a question. He says, what I can't figure out, remember what you said?
No, I don't.
He said, why do you do this?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's the question. Yeah, indeed.
And it was the answer was very easy. Okay, every human being is intrinsically of great worth. Okay, and if there are impediments that are keeping somebody down, well, let's in our short span on this planet, can we remove some of those impediments? And if we can, great. Okay?
Amen.
We as a larger community are better when the Leon Fritzes and the Oscar Knights of the world are released from what, sort of weighs them down and can bring to the community what they have to offer.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would like to say one thing. It was interesting. Peyton Manning made a statement today, and he was quoting somebody, and he said, "Treat a man as he is, and he will be as he is. Treat a man how he ought to be, and he will become what he ought to be." And that kind of is the essence of what this club is about. Much respect. Nobody's put down. Nobody has, that weight on their shoulders, and it's very uplifting. And then the running is very therapeutic.
And Oscar, how do you feel?
Oh, well, now that we had an experience today, we found a dead body. We were going running this morning, and it was just laying on the floor. And I was talking to Judge Mitchell about it, that how come this person had been there perhaps for hours, and nobody had noticed that the body was just laying there.
While you were running.
No, we were about to start running,
Okay.
and the body was laying on the floor, like around down.
And Oscar, as a testament to who Oscar is as a human being, for hours people had walked past this man, okay? And Oscar was the first person to try and wake him up, who reached, tried to feel if he had a pulse, okay, and discovered that he had passed.
Oh my God.
Okay.
And what I just want to mention is that the club, we should not lose this, our to be sensible towards our neighbors.
Yes.
But personally, what I felt is that we human beings as a society, we have lost to care for the neighbor. I saw that today, and the running club, what it has is that it's like the judge mentioned, that personally to me, they have accepted me the way I am. They listen to me, I listen to them. I do have my own personal problems, but they're always been there for me. And what I saw today just tells me that we as a society, we should change. We should actually should have this initiative on how to involve the community in better, and become a better society. I mean, taking care of our neighbors, like the group, this beautiful group does, because that's the way I feel. I've been with this group for 2 years, and it has actually changed my life. I'm an alcoholic, but by talking, by these small talks that we have while we run, it has changed my life. It really has. And I will invite anybody that actually would like to change his own life or her own life, that has any kind of problems, not only drug or alcoholism, but any kind of problem, just to come to join us, and we'll see what a difference the running club could do.
Absolutely. This is heavy. I'm so impressed.
We're not just a bunch of athletes. Okay, we probably not score very high in that category.
I don't know. I think you're some pretty awesome people. What are some of the disappointments that you've had to deal with?
The major disappointment is when somebody relapses. Okay, I could mention a significant number of names of people who we get close to, that they bring a lot to my life, and they don't succeed. And anyone who is involved in the recovery process knows that not everyone is a success story. Okay? We've had people, though, who have relapsed, who are gone. They'll disappear for 8 months to a year. But then when they have been laid low, they'll come back. And, the wonderful thing about the Midnight Mission is, okay, maybe now is the time that your recovery is going to go the distance. Okay? But, no, that's the greatest disappointment, to see good people lose, at least for a period of time, the fight with their addictions.
How can the community support your program?
A lot of different ways. Supporting our program, as Oscar indicated, come out. Okay. If you have something, if you are willing to extend yourself to another runner, and hold conversations and encourage people and support people, come out. Okay? If you're not able to do that, taking 25 to 30 people to Ghana, to Rome, to Vietnam, where we're going to in August, is not an inexpensive proposition.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay? So, if you're able to help out in that regard, God bless you.
So tell us about your success stories.
Well, the success stories are seated either side of me.
Absolutely.
Okay? And if you listen to them talk, you get a sense of what type of human beings they are. Okay? Mm-hmm. But there is a long list of people. We have Rebecca Hayes, who was a heroin addict for 10 years, became part of the Midnight Mission running program. She is now a surgical nurse in Seattle. Okay? Another individual, Ben Shirley, came into the mission, host of addictions, and he is now completing his first year at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, which, if anyone knows their conservatories, is extremely elite institution. Okay. We have someone like Brian, who had absolutely zero self-confidence, and now he is mentoring young people, okay, who are at risk. Name after name after name of people who are now really valuable members of our community.
Wow. Now, I'm going to go with Oscar because you've had a very special day. I mean, the story just kind of floored me. So, with everything that you do, and you said you've been a part of the program for 2 years.
Yes.
What's the hardest part about running a marathon?
Concentration.
Oh, really?
But actually, it is to believe that you can do it. Mm-hmm. And I relate this to my rehabilitation. A marathon, life is a marathon in itself. Something that running a marathon has is that you got to think about the goal. You got to think about the finish line. Make it there. And throughout this 20.62 miles that you have to run, there are times that we actually want to quit. Mm-hmm. And that's something that can happen to us during our lifetime when we have goals and we want to quit because we think that we cannot make it. And then I can relate this to my addiction. I've been drinking for the last 30 years.
Did you say 30?
30 years, and I have tried to quit for a long time. I've been sober for 2.
That's wonderful.
But I take it as day by day, every time that I run, I go we run twice a week, 5 miles, but sometimes I feel like not getting up or not running, but I think I go I gotta do it today. Right. And the same thing with my rehabilitation, I go I'm not gonna drink today. And but so you gotta keep the focus
right
on what your goal is.
Right.
And that is my goal, to actually stop drinking and go back to what I used to be and go, reach my goals in life. Same thing when I run a marathon. So that's the way I see this. To me, running is another part of my rehabilitation, which I will suggest to anybody to do it because it changes your personality. It changes your way of thinking, your focus.
Wow.
And that's what this program has brought to my life.
That's beautiful.
Focus.
That's beautiful. Gabby, who are you and your husband, and why are you and your husband doing the documentary on the Skid Row running program?
The short version or long version?
You're a guest of the judge. Anything you want, dear.
Actually, I grew up in a communist society, former East Germany, and I took up running when I was about 16 years old and ran long distances. So I love running, actually. And Mark picked me up hitchhiking in former East Germany, and this is how I wound up in America.
Wow.
So when we read the article about the running club and Judge Mitchell, what he's doing, we just said we have to just check it out. I mean, maybe there's a story there, and also love to join a club that runs. So the first month or 6 weeks we ran with the club and got to know some of the runners and got a little bit of their trust. I mean, everybody on Skid Row is a little bit suspicious. You can come with cameras. I mean, they can be knocked down or destroyed, and so just to tell them what we were doing and gaining their trust helped a lot to get the documentary off the ground.
Wow. So, and what have you learned filming this project?
A lot.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, we lived downtown for about 4 years, 5 years roughly, and we saw Skid Row on a daily basis. I mean, going to a restaurant, on 4th and Main, right around the corner you park your car and there's people laying in the streets, and on weekends you go to yoga maybe and you see people in the streets and tents, and it just feels like there is no solution to this problem. And seeing Judge Mitchell, like one man, making a difference in these people's lives just touched us, because you can start anywhere. Small, it means, giving people a second chance. And that's what our documentary is mostly about. People on Skid Row are able to achieve big things. And it's not that they're just people left out from society and nobody cares. And it changed us a lot too. During this documentary, we had different perception of people on Skid Row, and some even criminals who are now running club, murderers. And you think,
we have one gentleman who spent 30 years in prison, but behind a first-degree murder conviction. Okay, and he's one of the most decent human beings that you'll ever want to meet. Okay, and to try and sell that proposition to the general public is probably a tall order. Okay, but if you spend the amount of time that we have with this individual, it's not a debatable point.
You're a very brave man. You are something else.
When you're running with 15 other guys, you don't feel that you have to be very brave. Okay.
Okay. Now, let's see. Leon, I'm not going to leave you out. Do you see yourself remaining with the running program from a year from now, 5 years from now? Tell me.
Absolutely. I mean, what has happened to me, I couldn't get off of 5th Street. And to make that 1 block journey to 6th Street and then join this runners club it's like being in another world. And I don't see myself ever leaving the runners club. I want to be associated with it in every capacity, because it helps people. It helps people recreate their lives. And that's what I want to do. I want to help people. Like I said earlier, I've been to some murky places, and there's other people who've been to murky places that need to be welcomed, that need to be comforted, that need the opportunity to be part of a positive group and be surrounded by positive people and do positive things. And it only helps the whole society, but people need a start. They need a welcoming. They need a handshake. They need somebody to maybe pull them up.
Wow.
That's what happened to me. And I feel if I can do that with someone else through the Runners Club or through sharing my experiences, maybe I can help somebody else.
And to sort of piggyback onto that, as a judge, I had people ask me, well, do you spend most of your time on the golf course? Okay, are you a member of a downtown club? Okay, we all have choices to make, and I can honestly say Mondays, Thursdays, and a lot of Saturdays, there's no one I want to spend my time with more than the gentleman to either side of me and the other members of the running club. Okay?
They feel the same way.
Okay? I'm sorry. They're quality people. Okay? And one of the things I found people who are in recovery, they've sort of, you've peeled away the pretense, the artifices, okay? And so you get the real people,
Then you get
okay?
the goal.
They've had to confront who they really are, strengths, weaknesses, addictions, etc. Okay, and after dealing with a lot of people who are dishonest on a daily basis, who are interested in the superficial, the non-essential, I mean, they're just good people to be with.
You're amazing. I like
Yeah.
this. So why running? Why not job counseling, working on social skills, educational support, etc., all of that?
Everything that you have mentioned happens within the
Yes.
context of the running club.
You described it.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you're not sitting around a desk talking about job skills and education and career planning, okay? You're knocking off calories and working up a sweat and bonding with people because their knees are aching, and their feet are sore, and it brings people together. And you're not talking down to people, okay? When I am running, okay, there's no distinction between any of us. Okay.
I gotta ask you something. So you are a judge of the Superior Court, and for me personally, besides God Himself, who sits high and looks low, I think your position after God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost in my life, then there you are, the judge. And what made you? I believe everybody has a purpose. What happened that one morning or one day that made you decide to do this?
It didn't happen one day or one morning. I mean, it's, I can look back to primarily my mother, who instilled certain values, who, to the extent that she was able, exposed us to the larger world, who did not permit narrow-minded thinking in the home, who made sure that her children read and were thoughtful. So this isn't some new advent in my life. It just isn't.
Well, I thank you for being here. Your Honor, you are amazing. And I said it before we were in the green room. On my ballot for president, there's a blank space. I'm going to write your name in. Forget all these other people. Gabby, I thank you for being here. The judge would not do this show without you. And I thank Mark, your husband, for being here. He's just wonderful. Leon, Oscar, you are a testimony for the Midnight Mission and for what this awesome man is doing. I'm so honored to have you here. Join us again next week from the Halls of Justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a day.
Okay.
It was amazing. I mean, all this together.
Yeah.
The way it started in the ring and then this.
It was incredible. For Oscar to have approached the guy, I think he was led. Because, I mean, we see bodies laying around all the time. But for him to approach this particular guy was awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
This is
Mr. Corey.
Thank you. You know everything.
Fine. How are you?
This was amazing. I had no idea. Hi, I'm Master Corey.
How you doing, Leon?
Gabby,
Master
nice to meet
Corey.
you.
Hello,
He
sir.
has
How
the
are you?
misfortune